Good morning, Instagram. I see we're live on Instagram, waiting on Facebook to fire up. There it goes. Good morning. Happy Thursday morning. Welcome to the PT on Ice Daily Show. My name is Alan. Happy to be your host today. Currently have the pleasure of serving as COO of the Institute of Clinical Excellence and faculty member in our fitness athlete division here on Leadership Thursday. Thanks for tuning in live, Facebook, Instagram. Huge shout out to Zach Long for this cool magnetic arm thing that now hangs off the side of my laptop so that I can have the cameras relatively close together so I'm not bouncing back and forth. It's Thursday, it's Leadership Thursday. We're going to dig into the topic today, but first, more importantly, it's Gut Check Thursday. So shout out to the folks, the crazy maniacal students of South College DPT program for sending this suggestion to me a couple weeks ago. 100 clean and jerks for time. The RX weight, 135 for guys, 95 for ladies. A weight on that barbell or maybe a pair of dumbbells or kettlebells that you can move every 5 to 10 seconds. So some barbell cardio, stand in place and kill yourself with the barbell. So I'm looking forward to doing that today at lunch. So make sure you hit Gut Check Thursday. If you're going to be at a live course this weekend, you will be doing either that version of Gut Check Thursday if equipment allows, or a different previous low equipment version of Gut Check Thursday. So hope to see you out at a live course this weekend. Speaking of courses, I will be down in Charlotte, North Carolina this weekend with Zach Long and Mitch Babcock for Clinical Management of Fitness Athletes and Not Essential Foundations, the live seminar. So that's we get together one time a year, all three of us, to teach that course. Normally we teach that course separately across the country, but we get together and gather one time a year, all three of us, and that will be this weekend in Charlotte. I think we have 1 or 2 more spots left before we are full. So if you're interested in that and you're going to be in the Charlotte, North Carolina area, come join us. If you're going to be out in Wyoming, you have a chance to catch Justin Dunaway teaching persistent pain management at the Wyoming Occupational Therapy Association annual conference out there in Wyoming. We've got Jeff in Illinois at a full private course. We have a bunch of other great courses coming up that are unfortunately full for the next couple weeks. Your next chance to jump into a course is going to be later on in October. So make sure you check on ptonice.com and check out our courses. We've got a couple every weekend. They're filling up way ahead of time. So if you're trying to see us on the road before the holidays, make sure you get to the website and get signed up for a course. Before we dig into this episode, I want you, if you haven't listened to the podcast on Thursday the past couple weeks, I want you to pause this, shut it down, whatever you're listening to, podcast, YouTube, wherever you're tuning in, and go back to the last couple weeks and listen to Jeff's episodes. Listen to Jeff's episodes on last week especially of more is better as far as keeping people in our care, and the previous week's episodes, because those will set the foundation for what I'm about to talk about. So pause, rewind, go listen to those episodes, and then come back to this one. You'll have a lot more context. So last week, Jeff spoke to keeping people in our care maybe longer than we originally advocated for, keeping people under our wing, seeing them longer, knowing that if we're doing it right, we're not part of the problem when we refer to the huge bloated monstrosity that is the American healthcare system, that if we are treating at the top of our game, it's actually better that people come see us and stay under our care, because we're going to keep them from needing a lot of other services that are much more detrimental to their long-term health and certainly more expensive for their pocketbook and the pocketbook of the American public in general. And he made some fantastic points. And again, make sure you listen to that before you listen any deeper to this episode. And he made some great points about if we're doing it right, even if we see people longer, we're probably the cheaper long-term solution. And I fully support that and agree with that. But we really need to make sure that we're also not part of the problem as far as our overutilization and keeping people on longer than they need to be, and how that relates to what's going on with the Medicare cuts. So let's start there with point 1. What's going on with this thing I see, this hashtag FightTheCut? What's up with that? Maybe you don't treat Medicare. Maybe you have no idea what goes on with billing, or maybe you're just not up on current events. So Medicare must have a zero budget every year. They proposed some raises to reimbursement for other providers, and because they must have a zero budget, that money has to come from somewhere. And they proposed cutting reimbursement to physical therapists by 9%. And so that's where the Fight the Cut hashtag campaign comes from. And that's obviously made a lot of us in the therapy community very upset, saying we're very valuable, we provide a very valuable service, we save the healthcare system money, and that something needs to be done to not offer that cut to physical therapists. And that's also kind of led to the theory, the hypothesis, that because other insurance companies typically follow what Medicare pays, that then other commercial payers will go on to then also reduce their own reimbursement. And that line of thinking is completely false, right? Commercial payers control what they pay, and if you are in a state like Michigan, you're actually seeing reimbursement start to come out on a performance basis. So Mitch and I were just rated for the 2019-2020 year. We were given an A+ rating here, eval to discharge average time of about 5 visits, compared to our peer average of about 12 visits for a plan of care. And so if you hit that average visit here in Michigan, you at about the 12 visit mark, you get an A, which means you keep your current reimbursement. If you go below that and get that A+, you get reimbursed at 120% of the rate. So you make some extra bucks per every unit, per every visit with every patient, and so you get a 20% bonus for being above the average of your peers when we look at number of visits from discharge, from evaluation to discharge. It's also based on patient feedback. So patients get a feedback survey, and it's based on their satisfaction with your care. And so having 5 visits, eval to discharge, and 100% satisfaction, we are reimbursed at 120% rate. And Jeff spoke to this last week a little bit, that maybe that's too aggressive, trying to get people in and out too much, and that we're not taking care of all their issues, and we're not keeping them from moving on to another provider. And I totally agree with that. And what we're seeing here with that in Michigan is that when we go beyond 12 visits, you start to get a B rating, a C rating, a D rating, which means you get a warning. Maybe when you're rated too low, eventually after so many warnings, your reimbursement goes down. And if you continually overutilize and overbill, you lose your ability to bill that carrier. And so the switch to performance-based reimbursement is certainly rolling out across the country. And I think that's really important, especially when we then pull back and look at it in the scope of what we're talking about with the Medicare cuts. And so, do I think we should fight the cut? Absolutely. But the argument that is kind of coming out of our professional organizations and on social media is that we are very valuable and we save people money, and we are not the cause of the high cost of healthcare. And maybe you're not, maybe I'm not, but when we zoom out and look at physical therapy as a whole, that couldn't be further from the truth, right? We all know those horror stories of those chain clinics that are billing people a unit every 8 minutes. They're going out the door being billed 7 units. Those patients who use Medicare having all of their benefits exhausted in maybe 4 or 6 weeks and having no more therapy benefits the rest of the year. We know that goes on. That goes on more than we're willing to admit, maybe. And as a whole, when we pull back, not you, the physical therapist, not me, the physical therapist, but physical therapy, the profession, we cannot hope to make the argument that we are more effective and save money more so than any other provider. The research doesn't support that, and financially it doesn't support that, right? Overall, as a profession, when we look at those metrics, we're kind of lousy. And that can be really tough to hear, right? And I'm sure maybe I'm causing some of you to bristle your skin right now, but we really need to admit that there's a lot of really poor PT going on. Really great, knocking things out of the park, physical therapy deserves to be reimbursed more, and it's definitely the source of a more effective, from both a patient care and a financial aspect, way to treat patients. But we cannot argue that is physical therapy as a profession across the country as a whole. We know in our heart of hearts that that's simply not true. And so should we fight the cut? Yes, totally. But we should also, I think, start the hashtag, stop crappy PT. I think it's on us. The onus is on us when we ask, well, how do we change it? How do we change physical therapy as a profession to be more fitness forward, to be more manual therapy skilled, to be more psychologically informed, to help people get better, meet their goals, and keep them away from things like pills and surgery and injections and long-term health issues that cost a lot of money both to the patient and to the system, which then results in declining reimbursement for providers. How do we do that? We need to challenge ourselves on an individual level to, I don't want to say cause conflict, but we need to start to get more comfortable calling people out. you need to have that conversation with your coworker of why do you start every visit with ultrasound? Why do you start every visit with 20 minutes on the recumbent bike? We need to be aware that that kind of stuff is what jacks up patients' bills. It's what jacks up the cost of PT to the insurance provider to Medicare, and it's what results in stuff that we're talking about right now today, talking about cutting physical therapy reimbursement rates. That kind of crappy PT needs to go, and it's not going to come with the APTA flying in on a helicopter and telling your coworker to get with the times and be a better clinician. It's going to start with you of having that conversation. And I think that conversation should never start with, hey, you're doing your job wrong, but that conversation needs to start with a line of questioning that should maybe lead that person down the path to question why they're using the interventions and treatments that they are. Because if we start to have those tough conversations with our coworkers of, why do you start every visit with ultrasound? Why do you use ultrasound, E-stim, hot pack, cold pack, and mechanical lumbar traction all in the same visit? Why are you billing 7 units? Don't you know that translates into a charge to the insurance company of $300, $400, $500? Don't you know that yes, increases revenue to the clinic, but is also why insurance companies cut rates so often and adjust and ask for discounts and just flat out deny claims? Don't you know that that's part of the problem of why we can't get paid what we're worth? And so that conversation needs to start with us having those tough conversations, I think, with our coworkers to hashtag stop crappy PT and be a lot more diligent that we need to really be the ones who reform PT from our own clinics from the inside out, from having these conversations with our coworkers and our management and change things. When you come back from an ICE course and you have learned how to teach people to do a remom or deadlift or kettlebell carry, that's stuff you need to be having an in-service with all the folks in your clinic. And maybe that makes you an outcast for a little while in your clinic because you're doing something different, but you're doing something much, much more important to the long-term health of not only your patients and improving their outcomes and helping them meet their goals, but you're reducing that overutilization. If you're doing this right, you shouldn't have to see somebody for 180 minutes a day and build them 12 units to get some sort of treatment effect. If you're doing this right, you can get a lot of effect inside of an hour and only have to bill that person 4 units. And what will result from that is a really nice system where the patient doesn't get charged out the door, the insurance company doesn't get charged out the door. They're much more likely to offer things like we just talked about performance-based reimbursement, where you are getting a 20% bonus because you're getting the job done. And that's not to say that we shouldn't see patients over the long term. I certainly have patients who are above that 5-visit window. I have patients who are above that 12-visit average. But remember, it's an average. There's going to be stuff on the outside and stuff on the inside. There's going to be somebody who comes in with a little bit of smoky knee pain. That's a 1 out of 10. It's not very severe. Able to help them get some relief in the clinic, give them a home program for 1 to 2 months, and they're going to be able to progress on their own. They don't need to come see me 3 times a week, and I sure as hell don't need to be billing them 7 units an hour for the treatment that I'm doing, right? There's a good compromise, there's a good middle ground. There's honor in that middle ground of saying, hey, I saw you for an hour, I provided you high quality care, I'm gonna bill you 4 units. Yes, that's gonna cost $100, $150, $200, but my time is worth that. The value I provided you is worth that, instead of always asking for more and more reimbursement on what we're already doing, because that's obviously not working. And again, when we peel back and look at the profession as a whole, we don't deserve it, right? We probably deserve to have reimbursement cut by more than 9% based on how physical therapy is conducted by some of our colleagues in the profession. Leaving people on mechanical traction for an hour, leaving needles in people for an hour and charging that person 4 or 5 units of manual therapy. All that kind of stuff results in insurance billing going up and reimbursement going down because it's a ton of utilization. And yes, there are people with longer term plans of care, and that's fine, right? I have plenty of people on my schedule, Medicare, patients using Medicare included, who are going to go way beyond 5 visits, and that's okay. But again, it's an average. And when we look at what is the type of treatment being used? Is it the most effective treatment? As a profession, we can't honestly say that it is. And so we need to have those tough conversations with our colleagues on why they're doing what they're doing and try and help guide them to a more efficient way to practice that's going to let them give the patients the care they need, whatever that length of care may be. But by becoming a lot more effective, I think most people will find they just simply don't need to see most people as long, okay? And so that's my point today. And so I think we should fight the cut, yes, but we also need to fight crappy PT and get a little bit more comfortable with having those tough conversations with our coworkers. And just know that performance-based reimbursement is coming. If it's not to you yet, it will be to you soon. And I would challenge you again, there's a good dichotomy there, not to take the bait that just because you get paid more to see people less, that you should get in the mindset, as Jeff said, of seeing all of your patients less just because you're getting paid more, but to see your patients with a uniquely crafted plan of care for as long as they need and as much as they need. And that's that honorable middle ground where we're seeing people for as much treatment as they need and no more and no less. So I hope that was clear. It's a little bit tough to talk about. I know there's probably going to be a lot of pushback that we should support Fight the Cut no matter what. I think when we look at the social media pages of our professional organizations, this is all that's been coming out of those pages for the past couple months is stop this cut. And again, that kind of speaks to the mindset of that message is important, but those pages should also be putting out material on how to improve our game, on how to become more efficient clinicians that are going to save our patients money, save the healthcare system money, which in the end result will result in more money in our patients' pocket, more money in our pocket, and patients who are happier, healthier, more fit, and more likely to meet their goals. So hope to see you down in Charlotte this weekend. Hope to catch you at a live course soon, an online course. Don't forget to hit Gut Check Thursday. It's the end of the month, so we'll be picking a winner for Gut Check Thursday t-shirt. See you at a live course soon. Hope you all have a great weekend. If we're not seeing you at a live course, have a great weekend. Bye, everybody.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to the PT on Ice Daily Show. If you enjoyed this content, head on over to iTunes and leave us a review. And be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram at the Institute of Clinical Excellence. If you're interested in getting plugged into more ICE content on a weekly basis while earning CEUs from home, check out our virtual ICE online mentorship program at ptonice.com. While you're there, sign up for our Hump Day Hustling newsletter for a free email every Wednesday morning with our top 5 research articles and social media posts that we think are worth reading. Head over to ptonice.com and scroll to the bottom of the page to sign up.